talking about Boots Ennis going up against David Avanesyan. Again, a like opponent to Terrence Crawford, who Terrence Crawford knocked out in 6 rounds, knocked out clean in 6 rounds. What would Boots do? Would this be his opportunity to prove he is on the same level as one of the best in the world in Terrence Crawford? As we break down the fight as a whole, what we saw from this fight was outright destruction. It was indeed outright destruction by Boots Ennis. We saw the best of, in terms of offensive display of Boots Ennis. Again, mind you, this is a brother who's on a year hiatus, and still he was able to put on this level of dominating offensive display. And this brother from round 1 on was doing everything you would want. Throwing out his jab, popping out his jab, throwing combination punches. And if you're being perfectly honest, the fight looked very similar. If you go rewatch Crawford's fight with Boots' fight, for rounds 1 through 3, you saw the same thing. Boots and Crawford using their jab very often, looking for counter opportunities. The performance was great. Landing hooks and combinations all night long, showing off his speed and his power, showed his ability to have diverse levels of offense. He was able to fight off the ropes and in the middle of the ring, showed all of his athletic ability as a boxer. He was breaking him down. That's what he did. Phenomenal body work as well for the majority, oh no, not majority, for the entirety of that fight, throwing 2 or 3 punch combinations to the body. This man was on a mission to break down David Avanesyan, and we saw it as the fight kept on going. More and more damage got on David. The body attack started taking hold. The face started changing. When the doctor called it quits on the stool before the 6th round, reportedly he had a broken jaw and I believe broken ribs as well. So this was an outright destructive display by one of the most exciting fighters, not just in the division, but in all of boxing. It was a constant flow of dominance by Boots Ennis. And for a year-long layoff, this looked great. I can't wait to see what it looks like when he comes back fully without ring rust. However, even with that being the case, there were still a lot of problems that causes me to say, if you want to face Terrence Crawford, you're still not at that level where you can beat him. Now, you would say, well, why would you say that, Jean-Luc, with such a dominating display by Boots Ennis? That still doesn't change the fact. If you watch both of those fights, it's still a situation where one performance was better than the other. One performance spoke volumes, while the other one spoke in chapters. And here's what I mean. If you look at the CompuBox, the fight was relatively close for both Crawford and Boots. But that doesn't change the fact that while the numbers may even say that Boots had a better performance, if you watched both of those fights, you will see that Terrence Crawford was leagues better in this fight with David Avanesyan than Boots Ennis. And it's because when you look at Boots and you look at Crawford, Crawford never got out of first gear. And if he did, he got to second gear. Never got to third. And it was still so easy to get Avanesyan to do whatever you wanted him to do and get him out of there. With Boots, you saw, again, the activity. You saw the incredible display. It was a phenomenal showing, but it was still, there was a lot more effort put in. And I don't say that in a bad way. I'm just saying that's what we saw if we're comparing the two. Crawford was on easy mode for relatively the majority of that fight. Yes, he turned it up, but he only turned it up a slight notch, and it was enough to get him out of there. Boots, he was on it. That brother was active. He was already in gear 2 by round 3. And when it came to the other side of the coin, not just offensively, but defensively, that's where the real discrepancy of this fight comes into play. Because it wasn't just that Terrence Crawford looked easier in this fight with David Avanesyan, but Crawford's defensive ability was so much better than what we saw with Boots. And it's because Boots acted lazy. Now, that's a volatile thing to say, but Boots acted lazy. How did he act lazy? He let himself get hit. He allowed for himself to get hit. There were plenty of opportunities. See, if you watch Crawford in his fight with David, Crawford never let himself get put in a bad situation. If he got caught, okay, it was a good shot by David, don't get me wrong. Absolutely. But it was never a situation where, okay, no, he isn't always looking and waiting and making sure he's always doing the right thing. He's always alert, was always alert. I didn't see that with Boots. Too many opportunities I saw with Boots. You shouldn't have gotten hit by that shot. You shouldn't have gotten caught by that heavy blow. You shouldn't have gotten to a point where you got pushed to the corner and were getting pressure and not being able to fight out. Crawford got out. Whenever Crawford got pushed to the ropes, he got out immediately. Yes, he fought on the inside like with Boots. Yes, he did work on the inside. Yes, he was able to go and trade with him. Yes, he did. But it was all from a more smart and sophisticated manner that we did not see with Boots, or at least that I didn't see with Boots. Boots was continually allowing himself to be put in situations that I know good and well he didn't need to be put in. If you're dominating a fight and still getting caught with stuff that is, for my book, stupid stuff, that's a problem. That's a major problem. Plenty of times with David Avanesyan, when we saw David pop up Boots' head multiple times, catch him with hard hooks, especially later on in the fight. Before he got stopped, it was his best round, round 5. He was putting work on Boots. He had gotten Boots to the ropes. Boots wasn't avoiding shots and being as defensively sound and technical as he should have. Letting himself get hit, willing to eat shots to get shots. And again, I said it was a credit to his chin, a phenomenal display of the athletic ability, the chin on Boots Ennis, and the outright talent that we see Boots have at his disposal. I said all of it, and it's all true. Still doesn't change the fact that when it came to Boots in this fight versus David, he was stupid in some aspect because he let himself get caught when he shouldn't have gotten caught. That was David Avanesyan's best round. It was of the both fights that they had, Crawford and Boots, who fought Avanesyan. David had his best performance against Boots. David had a better performance against Boots. Because if you watched the fight, you saw when it came to big, landing, damaging shots, Crawford didn't get touched nearly as much as it. Not saying that Crawford didn't get touched. No, he did. Avanesyan landed some good overhand rights and some straights on Crawford. Yes, he did. But it was the fact that continuously, within the span of 3 rounds, there were flurries of constant work and constant heavy shots that I was seeing David Avanesyan catch Boots with, popping his head up with uppercuts, whipping his head back with hooks, not due to Boots getting out the way and turning his head, but from his head getting turned by David Avanesyan. That's what happened. Let David Avanesyan get him to the ropes, do work, willingly relied on his chin to be able to tank all the shots. Where Boots was being active offensively, he lacked his ability on defense. And if this was a legitimate puncher, a better puncher than David, we could have seen Boots in legitimate trouble. There's no way you couldn't tell me that we couldn't have seen Boots in legitimate trouble if that was the case. If we saw Spence land those shots on Boots, we're looking at a problem. If we saw Terrence Crawford land those shots on Boots, we're looking at a problem. This is no disrespect to David Avanesyan, but if Boots is going to have that level of defense, now you get somebody that can make him respect him, and he gets that same shot landed on him, we could be looking at some big problems when it comes to the world of Boots Ennis. This is not trying to critique and say, oh, he's a bum. No. What I'm saying is we're going to compare the two like opponents. We have to then say, when it comes to Boots, he did not perform like I needed him to perform to show me that he can go and beat somebody like Terrence Crawford. He didn't. He did not. He didn't use his footwork to get out the way of shots, and he willingly negated the distance that he could have controlled for the entirety of the fight. If you look beyond the flurries, look beyond the flash, look beyond the offense, the technical stuff that he did was not up to par.